Hello. Welcome to today's video. This is going to be my November wrap up, which I'm actually getting out to you at a decent time. I have decided we're just going to ignore November, act as if it didn't really happen. But I did read a lot of books, so before I act like it didn't happen, let's talk about the books I did actually read, because I've got through quite a few. Now, before I do start talking about them, let me just say, if the lighting is dreadful, if this looks dreadful, I do apologise. My goal for today was to sit down and film before 4. It is 3:20 and it's already so dark out that I've had to turn every single artificial light that I have in this room on. So I'm hoping that it's translating okay. For me, my skin tone that I'm seeing does not look correct, but we're just going to hope for the best. We are just going to hope for the best. I'll also have 2 very angry cats with me because they were both asleep in here. They were both asleep on the end of the bed. So I will, at the end of this, take a little snippet of them fast asleep because they look so cute. And, you know, most videos the cats are in, but we are getting to that time of year where they do not care. They don't care what I'm doing. I could be creating a ruckus around the house and they would not care. They simply want to be asleep, want to be warm, want to be on the radiators. They don't care about me anymore. So there will not be cat interludes in this video, I highly suspect. And yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk. In November, I read a total of 17 books, which is actually really good. Like, it's a really decent number to have read. And I do feel quite positive. Like, I feel like my reading outlook throughout November wasn't the best, but looking back on it, like, it was decent reading. Unfortunately, the things I ended up reading were just things that I didn't own. And, you know, like, that's my big goal this year. That's really what I've been working on, is reducing that TBR. So it's just not been the best in terms of goals, but in terms of actual reading, it's been quite decent. Those 17 books equal 7,153 pages, so that is so amazing. And like, yeah, I am genuinely really happy with that. Like, I think it's a really decent number, and I had really decent books. Like, the lowest rated book I had for all of November was 3 stars, which I do think some of them were to do with the mood that I was in. I'm not even gonna try and lie. Like, some of these books I look back and I'm like, okay, that 4 stars, like, that does not feel like a 4 stars looking back on it at the end of the month. But whatever, I stand by it. I read a lot of random weird books, a lot of audiobooks in November, and overall, I had a pretty decent time. So let's talk about it. The first book that I read, I actually read the majority of in October, but it did take me till November 1st to finish it. And that was The Incandescent. So this is by Emily Tesh. It is a academic fantasy about witches and magic, and it's based in a school. It's magic school, but rather than following like students, like the traditional kind of what you expect from magic school fantasy, we follow the teacher. I think she's actually like the deputy head of the school, but we follow her mainly. And I thought it was great. Overall, I gave it a 4 stars. I thought it was a really decent book. It is a standalone, so it's just this book, and I did have a really good time with it. I will talk a lot more about it in an Our Fantasy vlog that is coming up at some point during December. You'll see an Our Fantasy vlog. But my basic thoughts on it is really good. I really enjoyed reading from the adult's perspective. I thought it was really funny. I really enjoyed the humour in it. Like, it was very tongue-in-cheek British humour, like very like kind of like self-deprecating in a lot of parts as well. Like, I thought that was really good. I found a lot interesting about it, and I enjoyed the story. It does deal with like demons and demonic possession, and that was really fun. And I felt like everything was explained by the end. I think the main thing that didn't work for me was there was a little bit where I personally wasn't a fan of the pacing. But except for that, it was really decent. 4 stars, really solid 4 stars. Not actually sure now, looking back on it, why I didn't give it 4.5, but 4 stars, perfect. First book of the month. Then I read Saga Volume 11. This was 5 stars. Absolutely amazing. I love this graphic novel series. They are so good. This one we got to follow, I think, absolutely everyone we at least saw something from, because there's been so many different characters over time and they're all kind of split off doing their own different things. And we got to see from, I'm pretty sure, everyone. So that was really good. Like, that was definitely something that I missed in Volume 10. For me, this volume 11, it was 5 stars. It was great. It was perfect. It still didn't beat volume 9. Like, volume 9 for me is still the volume I look at as being like the perfect volume. So much happened. There was so much shock value. There was so much going on, so much character development. But this came really close to it. it came really close to it, and I was really worried after volume 9, especially knowing that they took a hiatus from making the series and didn't come out with more till many years later. I was worried that none of them would ever live up to it, none of them would get close. But this one did, and I had a great time, a fantastic time even. Like, I'd highly, highly recommend this. Yeah, I'm at volume 11. I'm going to be loving it. I wouldn't be picking it up if I wasn't still absolutely loving it. So yeah, I've also just realised the reason that my skin tone looks weird, and I thought it looked weird, is because I've put the brightness on my laptop all the way up, and because I gave out so many 4 stars, the majority of my screen is actually pink, and that's why I'm looking a little pink, because when my laptop screen went off a second ago, it did not look so pink, but you could see me a lot less. So yep, let's just deal with it. It's fine. Let's move on. I'm going to talk about the next 6 books together, because I read an entire series. I gave book 1 of the series 3 stars, and then the middle 4 books, so 2, 3, 4 and 5, 4 stars, and then the last book, book 6, 3.5 stars. I can't remember the name of the series, but I'll have popped them all on screen by now. This is the series 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had fun. This is definitely the series that I look at and I'm like, I don't know why I gave that 4 stars. Like, I did find it interesting. The plot was very weird. It was very... So I haven't seen this show, so I could be completely wrong. I don't even know what the show's called, but there's something on Netflix, I believe, where it's like they went round all of the world and were trying to put together a K-pop group, but it wasn't like K-pop necessarily, because it was from like people all over the world and they were competing on it. So that, what I've heard of that, is kind of what I think this is kind of imagined to be, but with a massive like fantasy element to it as well. Kind of like that meets Hunger Games, I guess. I don't know. That's not the best like description. It's not the best one to like compare it to, but that's really what I think of this, because it was fantasy. These people did have powers, they did have stuff going on, they did have like magic abilities in their lives, but they're also all just like performers doing like dancing, singing, all that sort of thing, and they also had to compete at this school. And I did enjoy it. Like, I did have a really good time with it. It was exactly what I needed at the time. I think there's 6 books in this series, and I think I read the entire series over like 9 or 10 days. So I really did, you know, need it. It was what I wanted. I was really struggling with my reading at the start of the month because I just started a new job, and I was just like, I don't know how to read anything but audiobooks, and there were no audiobooks on my TBR. So, you know, I figured it out, but I was just really happy to have this at the time that I had it. I don't know if I'd ever read it again. I don't know if it'd live up to like my current thoughts on it, so I probably won't ever read it again. But it was interesting. I guess you'd say there was a romance in this. I don't know, like there's like mate bonds are a thing in this series, and packs aren't normal in this world, I don't believe. But like, if you kind of think of books that have had like mate bonds with pack dynamics, that's basically what this pulled from, I believe. So I mean, yeah, I don't have a lot to say, and I feel like to have rated it 4 stars, I should have a lot more to say. I think this series was probably actually a 3-star series for me, but obviously I was feeling very generous with the mindset I was in at the time I read it. I also then, at the end of finishing that series, I was like, oh, actually, I'm in the middle of a Bergman brother reread. I only had books 6 and 7 that I hadn't reread this year, so I was like, let's do that. So book 6 I gave 4.5 stars. Not surprised at all. I'm pretty sure book 6 is maybe not my favourite of the series in terms of like character development and like seeing like more things and more of the family, but definitely in terms of fun, book 6 is definitely like that for me. And then book 7, Only and Forever, I gave 4 stars. I read Bergman Brothers before. I read it for the first time October last year, and I started my reread in October, and it took it into November this year. So like, definitely enjoyed it, definitely glad to have reread it, and again, it just did exactly what I needed. I think they're really decent romance books. These are contemporary romance, and they each follow a sibling of the Bergman family, and they follow the sibling and who will end up being their love interest. Their dual point of view, which is really important for me with romance. Like, if it's not dual point of view, I'm probably not going to care, I'm probably not going to enjoy it, and I kind of have learnt that about my romance taste. But there's also really great representation in all of these books for a variety of things, which I really enjoy, and I think it's really great to like normalise, because like a lot of the things that are represented in these books are just normal things. Like, you will know multiple people in your lives that like have these things, deal with these things as a part of their normal lives, but it's never really shown in contemporary books. So I just really appreciate what this series does. Then I read a non-fiction. I read The Master's Tools Will Never Dismantle the Master's House, I think it's called. The last word of the title has actually been cut off. Let me see if I can find it so I can make sure. Yes, I was correct. The Master's tools will never dismantle the Master's house, which was really great. I've given it 5 stars. I thought it was great. It was like a 40-50 page non-fiction, and it really spoke about a lot of different things, but like feminism was a big one. Racism was also talked about throughout it, and this is by Audre Lorde, and it's essentially, I want to say 4, it might be 5 of her speeches, her essays, things that she vocalised out loud at like public conferences and things, written down and put into one place. If you haven't read it and enjoy non-fiction, I would definitely recommend it. I thought it was absolutely amazing, so insightful, so important, such an important thing to read. And to be perfectly honest, the main reason that I picked this one up is because I've heard so many good things about Audre Lorde. But I'm someone who enjoys non-fiction, but I don't read it very fast, and I don't read much of it a year. I maybe read like 20 non-fictions a year, which is a great amount, but compared to the amount of fiction I read, it is a lot less. So I tend to be quite picky with them, especially full-size non-fictions. A lot of the non-fictions that I read will be like shorter essays or collections. So basically, I've heard a lot of good things about Audre Lorde, but when I've seen like her books in person in shops, they've been around the 300 page mark, I think, the 2 that I'd looked at before, and that was just quite intimidating for me. So I picked this one up, which was only 50 pages, and it basically cemented in me like, yes, I am willing to, even if it takes me 4 weeks, 6 weeks to get through a 300 page non-fiction by this person, like I want to, like that is something I want. So it's just a really positive one all round for me, to be quite honest. I then read The Impossible Fortune, which is the 5th book in the Thursday Murder Club series. So I won't say too much because it's book 5, but we are once again back with the gang. The gang is back together, and there is... I'd say there's a mystery in this one. Like, there is a murder, but like it definitely starts out with a mystery of something's potentially going on. Let's look into it. Let's see what we can figure out. This one was still amazing, but most of the Thursday Murder Club books have got 5 stars from me, and this one I could only give 4 stars. There was a lot of problems I had with it. It's also really interesting because this is the first one that I've read where my partner had already read it. The rest of the Thursday Murder Club books he only read this year, so this was the first one, and he actually got to it before me. And there were things in it that I could talk to him about that were like, felt a bit lazy, to be quite honest. There were a few computer things that is stuff that he would know about, and he said like, this doesn't make sense. And there was even a couple of things that I picked up on. I won't say too much, but just as an overview, cryptocurrency does come into this book and does play a small part in the mystery, just in terms of talking about how cryptocurrency works. Like, not spoiling anything, but like that is a thing. And I think if you know nothing about cryptocurrency, you just go along with it. But like even me, who knows very, very little, was like, what? Like, this doesn't seem right. Like, what are you on about? Like, I spoke to him and it was just completely like incorrect for how it would work. So it felt quite lazy that that hadn't been researched. Like, it wouldn't have taken long to either ask someone who is an expert, who does know more, like, does this make sense for the story, for the linear plot, or even just watch 2 or 3 YouTube videos on it, to be quite honest, because I've seen not more than that, and I didn't know what was wrong with it, but I caught on that something was weird with it. So yeah, I mean, I still loved our characters. I still love being back with the gang. I think there was definitely a bigger B plot, but we didn't know much about the B plot in this one. The B plot was very much surrounding something different, and I kind of wish that was what we'd focused on, to be quite honest. Like, I don't know, this one just didn't hit the same, unfortunately, and I don't think that's because of how terrible I thought the movie was. Like, I do think I will still read these books and be able to enjoy them and reread them and just ignore that the movie ever happened, but I am slightly worried. Like, maybe if I reread this, it could get higher in a few years' time, but for right now, I mean, 4 stars is a great rating. It's just compared to the others, it's downhill for the series, unfortunately. I then ended up reading 2 of the books in the Psy Changeling series. I'm going to be honest, I do not know what number books these are. I've got a feeling it's books 7 and 8 or 8 and 9, not 100% sure, but either way, I read Play of Passion and Kiss of Snow. Play of Passion, I gave 4 stars. Kiss of Snow, I gave 4.5, and I think a big reason for this one was the romance. So like, these books, Psy Changeling series, there's always a plot line, which is often politically based, but sometimes isn't. And then there's also a romance in it. And for me, Play of Passion was good. It was really good. I'd reread it. Like, I love the series. I imagine it's a series that every few years I'll reread, hopefully, fingers crossed. Like, it is a complete series now and I haven't finished it. This is my first read through. But so far, that is definitely how I feel about it. And it was just great. It was like, yep, this makes sense. I'm understanding more. The world is progressing a little bit. I'm understanding more about this particular dynamic. All great, all good. Obviously, not going to say more than that. I think it's book 7 or 8 or something like that. But Kiss of Snow, it had that political progression in it. We understood more. There was movement in the bigger world, the bigger plot. But also the couple we're following in this one was a couple that had been hinted at for books and books and books and books, and this was eventually their book. And I think just seeing that was like so interesting, and it didn't feel as like rushed or put together because we'd seen it hinted at in so many other books. We'd seen so many other characters and couples that we'd follow like comment or make a slight little like, oh, like, when's that going to happen sort of thing throughout multiple books. So it just worked so good, and it's 4.5 stars. I absolutely loved it. I love this series. We have Sai, who have mental abilities of one kind or another, and there's a massive like political agenda within the Sai, and they really have many things to sort out. But then we also have changelings, and the changelings are essentially shapeshifters. So we have wolves and cats are our main ones that we follow, although there are more. And then we do follow other characters in a few books as well, but that's, you know, the basics of it. And it's great. It's absolutely great. I love both books. I will be continuing with this series as soon as I can find time to pick another one up. Okay, and then I read The Blood Traitor. I've been wanting to read this one for a while. I actually do own this one. It's one of the few that I own. It's back here. But this is the third and final book in the... Ooh, what's it called? I think it might just be called the Prison Healer series. Maybe it has a name, but one's called the Prison Healer. I think that's the name of the series as well. But yeah, The Blood Traitor was book 3, third and final book. And I gave it 4.5 stars. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a really good conclusion to the series. I thought that there was a lot of things that were left open and hanging at the end of the last book were very carefully, very skillfully knitted together. We saw a lot of characters either come together or fall apart, and we saw a very like satisfying like ending for a lot of characters. We saw even more reveals that I'd never seen come in, and everything just worked. It was really lovely, and it was a really great ending to a series. I always worry with the last book of series, like, is it going to be a bad ending? That does happen sometimes, but no, this one was great. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Then I ended up reading The Crimson Moth. This is an audiobook that I'd purchased ages and ages ago, back when I had an Audible subscription. To cancel your subscription, you have to use all your credit. So I had purchased this book before cancelling, and then because I don't really use the app much, I kind of forgot about it. But as I've mentioned, like, I was struggling. I did really need audiobooks, and I had this one, so I was like, do you know what? Let's give it a go. And I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I think it was really decent. It is marketed as young adult, and I do get that, but our characters were older, so I kind of wish it had been an adult book, just because sometimes the things that happen in young adult books, when it is like teenage characters or younger, it's like kind of understandable. You kind of just like, yeah, they're kids are stupid. But when it's older characters and they're doing those same things, it does get a little annoying, which is the main reason why it's 4 stars and not more. But I enjoyed the story, I enjoyed the romance. I thought the ending was really great, to be honest. Like, unfortunately, I never really cared about any of the characters throughout. Like, you kind of know what's going to happen, and you know certain characters are going to have to be moved out the way one way or another. So, like, I was never really cared about other characters, but it still worked, and it was still a great ending. And there was definitely a twist at the end that I can't wait to see how they conclude, how they come back from in the next book. And it's only a duology, so the next book will conclude everything. So I definitely will continue on with the series, because I do think I would like to know what happens and how it ends. And then the last book, the final book that I read in November, was Scythe. And I gave it 3.5 stars. This was one that I really enjoyed. I really liked the concept of, and I found it interesting, but I never cared. And a book that has so much to do with death, to do with killing, to do with murder, and to do with essentially training to become that. I feel like I needed to care more. I needed to care more about the characters. I needed to have more worry, more hope for the characters, and I just never did. Like, I found the plot really interesting, but I just never cared about the characters, which is why I've given it 3.5 stars. I will definitely continue this series. Like, I'm intrigued enough to continue, and I hope I come to care. But I think this is one of the problems when it comes to reading young adult books for me now at this age. Like, when I was a young adult, like when I was like an actual teenager reading them, like I did worry, I did care about these characters, I did think like, oh, what's going to happen? Whereas now as an adult reading these, I'm like, nothing terrible is going to happen. Like, what's the worst that can happen to them? They've got to come through this. Like, it's a young adult book, they're not going to do anything that crazy. So yeah, but I did really enjoy the concept, and I did really like how it came together. I enjoyed following both characters. I thought it gave quite a difference of basically opinion, because like they do both have different upbringings and they both go through different things within their training. So that was interesting, and there was a couple of things in there that did shock me that I thought I knew what was going on, and it turns out I didn't. So I enjoyed it in that sense, and I'm really glad that I read it, but I do wish I'd have cared a bit more, to be quite honest. But yeah, that was it. That was all 17 books that I read during November. Those were my thoughts and feelings. I know I didn't go too in depth with them, but to be quite honest with you, I didn't write reviews for any books in November. I do plan on going back and writing them out, but normally I am so meticulous at keeping my reading journal in check and writing reviews down. But every spare moment I had to journal in November went towards making my 2026 reading journal, which hopefully, fingers crossed, depending on how long it takes me to edit, will either come to you later this week or early next week. So that's really exciting, and I am really happy with the journaling that I've done. But unfortunately, I did let writing reviews and actually keeping up with my current journal fall away a little bit. So do need to do that and do need to get back on top of it. But yeah, those are my thoughts, those are my feelings. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. Please do give it a like if you liked it. Subscribe down below for more content like this, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye.